Good morning, folks. It's Diamond with the Oppenheimer Ranch Project and Magnetic Reversal News, bringing you a grand solar minimum update Monday, Christmas Eve, December 23rd at 11:30 a.m. Mountain Time. The models are in, and that Midwest blizzard has shifted north. Southern Minnesota, Nebraska, South Dakota, and a little tip of Iowa looking to be in the crosshairs after the holiday. That's next weekend, folks. Heavy snow, and that large swath is getting larger. Keep calm, it's boom time. New forecast screams real winter for the Great Lakes region, and it's showing up on the models. Long-range forecast branch of the National Weather Service issued these maps just a week ago, showing heavy precipitation in the upper Midwest, as well as the Northeast. Montana looks like the big winner, and Indiana is in the crosshairs for the next 3 months. And the temperature will be cool in that region, setting up for heavy snow totals. Rain and mountain snow forecast through Christmas for Southern Cali. Those snow levels we reported on yesterday may be dropping to the I-5. 2 Colorado spots shared the nation's coldest temperature Saturday morning. I'd like to share it with you. Alamosa and Gunnison County were the icebox of the nation, reporting and coming in at 13 degrees below zero, which is rather warm compared to the minus 44 we had a week ago. Winter weather advisory now up, forecasting 14 inches of snow for Utah heading into the holiday. St. George, the National Weather Service in Salt Lake City has issued a winter weather advisory for portions of southern Utah starting 5 p.m. Monday and going through late Tuesday. However, snow is expected to continue in the area through Friday. The advisory is scheduled to expire 11 p.m. Tuesday and is forecasting snow totals of 7 to 14 inches. Snow levels will drop as low as 4,000 to 5,000 feet on Tuesday, dropping to most valley floors, including possibly southern Utah's Dixie from Thursday into Friday. So dangerous travel conditions across Utah. We'll get to the models. Snow brings a mess to roads around South Lake Tahoe. The latest storm has quickly Sunday morning, bringing snow to South Lake Tahoe, whose chain-controlled traffic and collisions. That's a terrible sentence. Drivers heading west over Echo Summit have been attempting shortcuts through Lake Tahoe, but you know what a shortcut gets you. Chain requirements everywhere. Because we'll get to the snowfall analyzer. Over a foot of snow fell overnight. Fresh snow is in the Christmas forecast for the Anchorage area. So all you people up in Alaska that have felt left out and have embraced Al Gore and his predictions, well, the Anchorage Bowl could see fresh snow by Christmas, as meteorologists predict widespread snowfall through Tuesday, which will be your lose day up in Anchorage, or your win day, because that will be Christmas Eve, and you'll have a white Christmas. It could be a white Christmas or a wet Christmas, depending on where you live in the U.S. If you're in the southeast, you will be saturated. 2 storm systems are currently creating the potential for wet or wintry weather for Christmas, depending on which coast you're on. East Coast will be wet. The West Coast, the best coast, will be white. Heavy rainfall will continue over much of the southeast, especially coastal Georgia and Southern California, or South Carolina. Wow! Through Monday, with the risk of flooding, a few severe thunderstorms may affect South Florida. Could be the holidays, folks. A little distracted this morning. And they were a little distracted yesterday as a 69-car pileup shuts down Interstate 64 near Williamsburg, Virginia. This is due to that massive front, which is now exiting the east, and the backside of it causing some frozen fog and slick roads in the south where people just do not know how to drive. There was ice on the bridge and heavy fog in the area at the time of the crashes. Some of the victims had life-threatening injuries, said state police. It appears that up to 25 people went to the hospital, 64, and more than 50 people were injured. Crazy. Look at the pileup right there. Nowhere to go. I guess you could jump off the bridge. Here's our snowfall analysis for the last 24 hours. The big winner is the central Sierras picking up over a foot of snow. If we go to the 24-hour picture, it hasn't stopped snowing up in the Seattle region for days. And that northwestern Montana area probably has like 8 feet of snow over the last 4 days in that little red spot. This snow pattern is going to rapidly move to the east, covering just about every state west of the divide, all the way down into Mexico. The big winner is the Four Corners region, which is going to be the nexus of the entire event. Texas will pick up a little bit because it is there as the nexus of the Schmexus. But that big blizzard has moved to the north several hundred miles. And the bullseye now, southwest Minnesota. Take a look at those totals. 24 plus in some areas, especially in northwestern Iowa. Here's another bullseye. The southeast corner of South Dakota and the northeast corner of Nebraska. Whew, that's hard to pick up. But we just put it down with the models. You do the math. Heavy rainfall and flooding in the southeast, continued unsettled for the west coast. Heavy rainfall will continue over much of Georgia and South Carolina into tonight with the risk of flooding. Those are the green zones down here. Click on your county for warnings and watches. Elsewhere, 2 storm systems on the west coast will continue with periods of heavy rain and mountain snow. From Southern California to the Four Corners region, watches and warnings issued in blue. Click on your county if you're worried. Mild weather will prevail for the Midwest into the Northeast through the holiday. Did you hear about the 20 earthquakes reported in 2 weeks in the New Madrid zone? Well, you did now. In the last 2 weeks, the USGS recorded 20 earthquakes along the New Madrid fault line, the biggest of which kicking in at just around 3 magnitude. The rest are minor, but with clusters like this, we need to be vigilant and keep watching. Seismic update. The biggest quake of note just rung off here in the Kamchatka. With an aftershock, we could see an uptick in volcanic activity. We've had an uptick on the Aleutians, now terminating in the Kamchatka, where the faults converge here, the convergence zone. So we'll keep a close eye on that. Is devastating super eruption at Yellowstone around the corner? Well, not at all. According to almost every single geologist that's working in this region, for the last several years, the inflation has stopped and there's basically zero activity. And just because we have historical eruptions 2.1 million, 1.3 million, and 640,000 years ago doesn't mean it's going to erupt anytime soon. We have a literal window of hundreds of thousands of years, and at the size of this supervolcano, we would see a major uptick in the region. And in fact, none of that has happened at all. There is deflation happening, subsidence, and none of that are indicative of eruption. So you really need to stop worrying about Yellowstone 100%. Not happening anytime soon. American woman dies from burns weeks after White Island volcano erupted in New Zealand. The death toll is now at 19 from the eruption, which is barely being covered. The victim is the 19th overall from the blast, which took place on White Island off the northeast coast of New Zealand on December 9th. She was fighting for her life for over a week. Worldwide volcano news update. Reventador to 16,000, Fuego to 15,000. We have Dukono, Sakurajima, Aso, Sabancaya, Abiko. The standards on the list. No out of the ordinary activity, but we're going to be keeping a close eye on Kamchatka for the big boom. Space weather news update. The KP index has been at 0 on and off for the last 3 days. But yesterday, we had 3, 6, 9, 12 hours, half the day at KP 0. And if you check the headlines this morning, you'll see masses of shootings across the country and worldwide. I saw at least 4 different mass shootings, all associated with the KP index on our waning magnetosphere. Now, there is good news on the horizon. Here's the HMI continuum of our sun this morning. And it's hard to see, but if you come down here, what I'm going to reveal to you is a sunspot, a couple of them. And this is a sunspot for cycle 25, happening live. Now, solar cycle 24 began back in December of 2008, and I'll leave you links to the data. But what I want to show you today is the butterfly diagram, and I want to point out how we use it. The center line here is the equator of the sun, and each of these colored marks represents, each of these dots here, these pixels you see, is a sunspot in the exact region of the sun. This line represents 30 degrees north. This line represents 30 degrees south latitude, and the equators would be up here. And every time there's a sunspot, they simply put it on the butterfly diagram exactly where it's occurring. So this one would be down in the bottom here, near the 30-degree mark. And as you can see, as sunspots layer over one another, here we see cycle 24, which began back here in 2008, you start to see some sunspots in the higher latitudes at the beginning of the cycle. And that typically happens within 1 year of the next solar cycle. So we're looking at cycle 25 to begin within the next year based on science. I can give you a little bigger close-up here and walk you through it a little better. In 2008, right about this line, solar cycle 24 began, based on an uptick in sunspots at high latitudes, probably right around here. But the high latitude spots, in fact, started up to a year earlier, here and here, which are good indicators that within a year, the cycle is going to kick off, and that all equatorial spots from the previous cycle will end. That's as simple as the butterfly diagram gets. And I will also leave you links to the sunspot cycle, which is good background information on sunspot cycle graphs, the Maunder minimum, and butterfly diagrams in general. Enjoy. Mysterious green ooze on Michigan Highway came from a wastewater site whose owner is currently in prison for polluting. Now, this green ooze is chromium hexapentane or some crazy, hexavalent chromium leaking out of the side of a curb here, retaining wall, right into the street. Now, can you imagine how the groundwater tastes right there? Oh my goodness. And we want to be taxed on, we're being taxed on plant food, and they're jailing people that pollute while the pollutants are flowing out of the ground because they don't do anything about actual pollution until it flows on the road. Fire at fish farm near Port Hardy damages the net pen. Let me turn myself on. I got my new holiday hat on thanks to Alien Alan's mom. Take a look. Amazing. Thank you, Janice. Now let's talk about these fish in Port Hardy. A fire ripped a net and released 20,000 Atlantic salmon into the Pacific. I wonder if that'll go bad. Nah. Bear shares up 3.5% after the U.S. government backs the Glyphosate lawsuit. Now, can you say collusion? I mean, this is actual collusion where the FDA, the EPA, and the largest big ag companies are colluding to kill you, which is crazy. The U.S. Environmental Protection Agency and the Justice Department on Friday said in a friend of the court brief that the federal appeals court should reverse a lower court verdict finding the company liable in the case of a man who blamed the weed killer by Bayer's U.S. unit Monsanto for his cancer, which it did cause. And that reversal, well, the stock price soared and the shareholders were glorious as they ate their glyphosate and died early. Sick country we live in, and it's only getting sicker. 10 pesticides have now been approved for use on industrial hemp for the first time ever. This is CBD because we're not making fiber with this. So all the CBD is now contaminated with pesticides. You better know where you're getting your CBD, or you're just going to be getting pesticides. With the 2020 growing season on the horizon, the EPA announced on Thursday the approval of 10 pesticides to pollute more of your medicine. It's absolutely disgusting. You need to start growing your own food and growing your own medicine because we cannot rely on these multinational corporations. They're out here to kill us. Dutch government now ordered to slash greenhouse emissions in a landmark climate ruling. It's getting this insane in this 1984. Now, governments have a legal duty to protect citizens from climate change, according to the Dutch. Totally insane. This is what the Dutch Supreme Court ruled on Friday, upholding a lower court decision that said climate change is a human right. Oh my God, how stupid are these people? Natural cosmogenic forces that are uncontrollable are a human right. Doesn't even make sense. The Dutch government is now ordered to reduce the country's greenhouse gas emissions by 25% below the 1990 levels within a year, which means people are going to starve and freeze. Thanks, Dutch government. We love you. It's crazy. Those who ran the Afghanistan war lied. Really? Weapons of mass destruction much? And they must be held to account. The billions of dollars we spent securing oil fields and destroying our native heritage of the Assyrians now needs to be explained. Do you think we'll get an explanation? I doubt it. But China is now selling autonomous killer drones to the Mideast. So it's anyone's guess what the next step in this insanity will be. Will it be autonomous drones flying around and just randomly murdering people? It is going to be robots. We are in Terminator, by the way. AI is coming alive. Now some fun news. Radar reveals very first footprints of Ice Age mammoths and prehistoric mammals. Using advanced radar techniques, we can now find footprints. And here's a local region right here. And you can see some awesome mammoth prints here. Take a look at that. Alkali Flat, New Mexico, where once walked the great and mighty mammoth. Now, this technology, using ground-penetrating radar, was first used during the Vietnam War to reveal bunkers below ground. Now it's being used to reveal footprints in the subsurface. Pretty awesome. And I've pulled up the paper for you so you can enjoy it over the holidays. 3D radar imaging unlocks the untapped behavioral biomechanical archive of the Pleistocene ghost tracks. That sounds like an awesome read. These are the most distant astronomical objects known in the universe, and some of them are too old to even be known, which really puts in the spotlight where we are scientifically and cosmologically. Pretty embarrassing. But take a look at some of the awesome pictures. And the one thing I can say about our current technology is that we are revealing more and more of the universe around us. And yet we know less and less about it. And here's a perfect example. There's a paper coming out just 2 days ago about organic crop practices and how they affect long-term soil health, as if this is some kind of new science. All this information has been known for over 100 years. Regenerative agriculture, organic farming, microbiome in humans, and the microbiome in the soil as being connected as part of the fabric of nature. All this has been known. Organic farming practices have been proven at the Rodale Institute in Pennsylvania for over 100 years. I swear, go check. Go check out the literature on organic farming practices, and what you're going to find in books from 1890, 1910, and 1930 is the same information in this paper. The same. There is no new information. It's like we're relearning how stupid we were, or are. I'm sorry. Christmas Day sees the third and final and most dangerous solar eclipse of 2019. Now, no one in North America will be able to see this eclipse. It's going to be happening on the southern hemisphere, and it's unique in that the sun is not going to be completely eclipsed. In fact, the moon is so close, or vice versa. The moon is going to appear much smaller, and therefore a very bright rim will appear at totality, in which case, during most eclipses, during totality, you can look at the eclipse with the naked eye. In this case, you'll probably go blind. So what we're going to see after the Christmas holidays, a lot of blind people in the southern hemisphere that don't have access to the internet, unfortunately. So please, if you know anyone in the southern hemisphere, share this information and tell them to not look at the totality of the eclipse in the southern hemisphere. Hope you got something out of the video. The Southeast is in the clear. You will not get a white Christmas, Southeast, and I apologize. But if you live anywhere else, including southern Minnesota, well, you're going to be buried. Thanks to all of the one-time donors, all of our Patreons, all of our supporters. Thank you for sharing these videos. Thank you, Mrs. Alien Allen's mom, for the hat that's keeping me warm. We love each and every one of you. Be nice. Today's the worst day to travel. The sheep are out buying plastic junk to destroy the planet while they protest plant food. Be safe. That's boom.